Almost exactly a year ago, in this very same parking lot, I did a video saying, look at this new daily driver I bought. Did I make a huge mistake? I bought a C4 Corvette, a car that is legendary for being very poorly made. And it kind of pains me to do this because I don't really sell cars very often, but I'm selling the Corvette and I have a new love, a new project. One that is even worse built than the C4 Corvette. Impressive, I know.
Hey folks, today's video is brought to you by SalvageReseller.com. This website allows you to bid live on online salvage auto auctions without a dealer's license. You can register for free or use the 20% off coupon in the description below. Go find your salvage car gem now.
What I bought is this Land Rover Discovery 2. This is a car that is renowned for being unreliable, poorly made, and I just can't wait to see how bad it really is. I mean, at least I'm trading one poorly made vehicle for another. And funny enough, not too long ago, Tommy and Brendan talked about some of their least favorite cars, and Brendan is behind the camera right now with a mic on. Brendan, what was one of the cars on your list?
Hey guys, yeah, it was none other than the Land Rover Discovery 2, specifically the Discovery 2, which is exactly what you bought here, Case.
It is, yeah, and actually he just told me that because I didn't watch that episode, so I just found that out. And yeah, I mean, I can understand why. We'll get into a little bit of why as we go through this vehicle, but let me give you a brief overview of my idea and why I'm trading the Corvette for this, because I'm sure there's plenty of more reasonable people out there that will be happy to see the Corvette go, just because not everyone is into C4 Corvettes. But the reason that I'm trading it out for this, for all of you out there who will maybe be upset to see the Corvette go, maybe, it's because we live in Colorado. And right now in my garage, I've got two V8 rear-wheel drive, basically cruiser cars. And as much as I love both of those cars, it's hard to justify keeping both of them. This is going to be a great thing to have in the winter because I do have a four-wheel drive pickup truck, but it's an old Cummins. It takes forever to get up to temperature, and my commute into work is about 15 to 18 minutes, so it doesn't really give the truck time to get up to temp. This, however, will be very good in the snow, and it will get up to temperature much quicker, and it's got things like heated seats, it's got a heated windshield even. So this is going to be my around town winter vehicle, something with the seated heats so that my girlfriend is happy. And let's get in.
I like how you said that, Case. The seated heats.
The seated heats.
The seated heats.
That's the preferred way to say it.
Now on.
Yeah, exactly. Now, yeah, obviously these cars are known for not being very good, not being very well built. I mean, the paint always fades on them. They're not very reliable. They suffer from slip cylinder liners. That's one of the really big issues that they have. I mean, they have a lot of issues. Front drive shaft is a big issue on these, and if that front drive shaft goes, it will take out your transmission housing at the same time.
You're making my case for me.
Yeah,
here,
so
you know, I mean, you're just giving away all my arguments as to why this is one of my most hated cars of all time. Now, I will admit, Case, you're a cool dude.
Oh,
and you only buy cars that look cool, and this is no exception to that rule. This car looks cool going down the road. If I see this thing going down the road, I'm gonna think that person is Mr. Cool and knows his stuff because he is putting this car in he's putting his life in his hands with driving this car.
Well, and look, we've talked about a lot of the bad things. Also, head gaskets are a big issue on these. But let's talk about a couple of the good things with these vehicles. For one, it's a V8. V8s are cool. So it's got a nice V8 rumble to it. It's solid axle, which is also really cool. There's tons of aftermarket support to actually make these really, really capable off-roaders, which is awesome because that's one of the big things that I do want to do. I want to build this up into an actual trail rig, something that I can use off-road. It's also pretty easy to find LS swap kits for this, and I think at some point, if this motor goes, when this motor goes, I am going to put, I'll put a 5.3 LS into it. And so I'm essentially planning to do the same thing with this that I did with my Cummins. I bought it and I don't know, it wasn't very impressive, and then I made something out of it. I think I'm going to do an even more extensive project out of this. So let's show you a little bit of the specifics on this one. So this one's actually at 120,000 miles, so it's not a ton of miles for these, but these interiors, they just don't last all that well. So you can see, I mean, there's tons of bits of trim that are just falling apart, and actually most of the bits of trim in here that are falling apart, I already have on the way. The front sunroof leaks, I have a new seal for that on the way already, but actually the headliner is still in place, which is pretty impressive. That's not typical for these. Yeah, you can see that the seats are ripped, but I want to get these reupholstered. And 120,000 miles is not too bad. That's reasonably low miles, especially for the amount that I paid for this, which we'll talk about in a minute. Now, really, the biggest things that I care about on this are having a good body and a low mileage powertrain, because I'm planning to do suspension, wheels, tires, steel bumpers, gonna vinyl wrap it actually, and you do need decent enough paint to make the vinyl actually adhere. So this has plenty decent paint to actually be able to get vinyl to stick in place. So most of everything in here is gonna go away, right? It's really just the body and the powertrain for the time being that I need. So we're gonna fix up the interior, clean it up a little bit, and I am selling the Corvette. Once the Corvette sells, then I'll actually go through and buy that suspension and wheels and tires and steel bumpers and a winch and all that kind of stuff that I want to get for it. I'm actually also selling one of my motorcycles to do it, because yeah, again, I want to do a pretty extensive build out on this. Now, that's pretty much the gist of it from the outside. Why don't we hop inside so that we can spin it around the block. And yeah, here's one of the funky things. You kind of have to get the key in just the right spot to get it to fire up. But once it does, you can hear it's got a aftermarket muffler on it. And
well, let me hop around back and give them a
listen.
A little listen so they can see how this sounds, because it sounds pretty good actually. Yeah, for an old Land Rover, that thing sounds
bad,
pretty
right?
good.
Yeah, so this is one of the things that I like about these cars, is that they are pretty old school in a lot of cool ways, and I'll take the camera so that Brendan can do up his seatbelt. But one of the things that I think is hilarious about this is that it has this thin window frame on it. It's the kind of window frame that you would see like on a 70s car, but this is a 2000 year model, so it's insane that it has that kind of design. It's so weird. And actually, real quick, I'll also show you just how terrible this back seat is. So I'm only 5'10", and
Let me grab it, I'll film you.
look at this. I barely fit in the back seat of this car at 5'10". I can barely sit behind myself. And you're also in this kind of strange seating position where you're looking up and over the people in front of you. You've got these grab handles here. And then this is also kind of interesting. This armrest here in the middle, when it folds up, it brings this whole headrest up with it. But yeah, there's just a lot that makes this unique. Obviously, you've got the Alpine windows up top, which is pretty cool. You've got 2 sunroofs, which I guess you could make an argument that it's cool. They tend to be fairly problematic on these, but both of them actually work on this. That one makes an obnoxious noise when you open it up, but it does open and close. Pretty much all the switches on this interior
I do like
work.
that storage net above your head there, Case.
Yeah, you got these storage nets. You've also got map pockets up above your sunshades. So it's just kind of a cool utilitarian vehicle. And these are just, they're not very expensive. So it's really difficult to find any of these in good condition. That almost doesn't exist. But a lot of these are just a couple grand. And I'll go ahead and tell you that I bought this one for $3,000 with 121,092 miles on it right now. I bought it up in Cheyenne, Wyoming, and I drove it all the way down from Cheyenne. You know, it didn't overheat, so head gasket, all that appears to be good. One of the funny things about these that Tommy tells me is that apparently the temp gauge on this only reads anything different from normal when I think it hits 245, if I remember right, and the head gasket goes at 225. So if you ever see hot on this temp gauge, you're done already.
Well, and you said that this has the V8. I know these had a few different V8 options. The 4-liter and the 4.6, right?
Yeah, the 4.6. The 4-liter? Yeah, so 0304 was a 4.6. And again, I'm just now getting this vehicle, so I'm still learning a lot about them. But from what Tommy tells me, because Tommy has had a Discovery 2 before, he said that in 03 they had oil pump issues, and the 04 was actually good because they gave you the center locker back in 04. However, you can retrofit these early Disco 2s with the center locker because they didn't actually get rid of the locking part of the center diff. They just didn't give you the cable to engage it. So you can get one of the cables and then you can make this a functional center locker. So all things that I'm planning to do here with this vehicle over time as I kind of build it out as a project. But for the time being, it's actually pretty decent. It is a little crusty underneath because it spent a lot of time in Ohio. It spent most of its life in Ohio, which I think is part of the reason that it still has paint on it. Because while that is worse for it having surface rust underneath, I'm sure their sun isn't as intense as Colorado. So a lot of these that have lived in Colorado, they don't have paint. Well, they don't have clear coat at least. So I'll take that trade-off. Everything underneath is stuff that we can work on and fix. Again, the biggest things that I wanted were a good body and a powertrain that'll be good for now, because I don't mind going through the interior, which, you know, we'll start doing this weekend. Look at that. And look at this, you know. that's all going to be fixed fairly soon.
So essentially, you're going to make this Land Rover reliable before you go overlanding, because I think you're a brave soul if you trust doing some overlanding in a Land Rover Discovery 2.
You know, I don't know if I'm going to call it overlanding. I'm not planning to go and be out in the bush for a month, but I would love to be able to run some trails with this. And actually, one of my best buddies, Connor, I've been talking about these Discoveries for a while, and he stole my damn idea. He went out and bought an 01 Disco 2 about a week before I bought this one. So, you know, once he did it, I had to do it as well. And yeah, this is just, it's gonna be the next project. I'm sure at some point I'll get another C4 Corvette again. Maybe by the time I get another one, I'll be in a position where I could get maybe a Grand Sport or a ZR1, something really kind of cool and special like that. But for the time being, if I have to pick between something four-wheel drive that I can build up and make into a cool project, or something rear-wheel drive that I can have as an alternative to one of the motorcycles or my other rear-wheel drive car, I would rather have something like this that is going to be a little bit more versatile here in Colorado. I know this is not the smartest vehicle to get, but it's something I'm really interested in, and kind of like with the truck, if you stick around and you watch what this shapes into, I think you'll all understand why it is that I'm doing this. So what do you think, Brendan?
You know, I do bag on this car quite a lot, but I have to say, Case, it looks you, man. It looks properly cool. I'll bet once you're done kitting it out, putting some proper wheels on it, you know, maybe what are you gonna do, steelies with some big proper tires on it, and off-roading it, and maybe even getting that old Land Rover engine out of there.
Yeah,
I think I could get behind this. I think I see your vision, Case, and
Yeah.
I can understand why you're doing it.
Well, I appreciate that. And if I'm able to sway Brendan, maybe I'll be able to sway some other people out there that it is possible to make one of these Land Rovers worth your while. And, you know, if it's not, then eventually I'll just probably trade it out for something else. But I've got a feeling that this is going to be a project that I'll probably hold on to for a long time once it actually shapes into something. So keep your eyes peeled, because there will be more videos on this as I start to make it into something. And if you're interested in a C4 Corvette, it is for sale, especially if you're here local and you want to come take a look at it. Reach out to us at ask@tfltruck.com. And that's all for this video. We'll catch you all in the next.